Hello there, neighbors. Welcome back to the garden fence. And my goodness, do we have some tea to spill today? Grab a chair, make yourself comfortable, and maybe pour something a little stronger than usual, because the storm clouds are gathering over Montecito, and this time they're bringing a hurricane. We need to talk about the whispers that have turned into shouts, the rumors that have hardened into something that looks suspiciously like facts, and the absolute chaos unfolding behind the closed doors of the Olive Garden mansion. For years we've heard the stories. We've heard about the yachting days. We've heard the murmurs about how Meghan Markle climbed the social ladder rungs one billionaire at a time. But now people are saying the quiet parts out loud, and it involves a name so radioactive it could melt the crown jewels. Prince Andrew. Now, I know you guys are excited for more. But before we delve into further discussion, if you haven't subscribed, come on guys, what are you waiting for? Hit like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell ASAP. So now many people are going to reveal that actually Prince Andrew allegedly knew Meghan far better than anyone ever suspected. The phrase being thrown around is serviced him, and let me tell you, that is not a term you use for someone you just met at a garden party. This isn't just idle gossip anymore. We are talking about receipts. We are talking about crew members who suddenly have very clear memories. We are talking about socialites who are done protecting the Duchess of Privacy. She was a yacht girl when they met, allegedly. And apparently she knew exactly what she was doing. She married for money. It's very clear she bagged the elephant. She was thrilled. She became a princess. Well, you can see the ambition, can't you? It was planned from the beginning. She denied being interested in the royal family, claiming she didn't know who Harry was, didn't know much about the monarchy, which she totally did. I know someone who knows the ex-husband, Trevor Engelson, who said she had a vision. She had a plan. And that plan involved climbing as high as she possibly could. So they hung around a lot, her and the Yorks, and they did know them. In fact, Eugenie was reportedly upset that the story of them vacationing at the Clooney's villa got leaked because she knew it linked them. Meghan's yacht days are back in the headlines, and Harry's reaction says it all. Trust broken, empire shaken, and fairy tale over. Everybody started wondering, how did she fool everybody? How did she convince the world she was this humanitarian saint who just stumbled into a prince's heart? All she needed to do, and she knew this, was get one of the elites to trust her because she knew the game. The moment everything shifted wasn't when someone tweeted a rumor or when a tabloid printed a headline. It happened when people who had stayed silent for years finally began dropping details that felt a little too specific to ignore. That's how gossip works, isn't it? Quiet, slow, then suddenly unstoppable. And with Meghan, it was as though everyone who had ever kept their mouth shut suddenly remembered they were there. But there is a very good chance that it happened, and apparently somebody's going to show the receipts. What changed? People stopped speaking in vague hints and started offering clear, confident recollections. Crew members who once shrugged off questions now remembered exact dates. A few socialites who floated through those yacht gatherings began confirming who attended and why. Suddenly, someone who looked like Meghan became, yes, she was definitely there. Married for money, that she planned it all from the beginning. And the vision board with Prince Harry on it? Oh, it's all coming out. And here's the part that made things messy. None of these people seemed surprised to see her in those spaces. They described her as if she belonged there. Comfortable, familiar, moving through the crowd like someone who already understood the expectations of these exclusive weekends. These weren't tourist yachts or holiday cruises. They were curated gatherings filled with wealthy hosts who didn't invite people casually. Trust her, or invest in her. The rest will follow. Just like the Kevin Costner movie, build it and they will come. Well, she built the persona, and they came. When the receipts surfaced, names, timelines, overlapping locations, it wasn't dramatic. It was subtle, quiet, almost anticlimactic in the worst possible way. Because when something explosive arrives without fanfare, people pay even more attention. It makes you realize the depth of the deception. My castle's too small. The Queen is mean to me. They won't let me call myself Her Royal Highness anymore, but I'm gonna put it all over my stationery and on the gifts that I give to my friends while she never stops whining. The hypocrisy is suffocating. What caught everyone off guard wasn't that Meghan had been on a yacht. That doesn't shock anyone in Hollywood. The real shock was whose yachts, and more importantly, whose guests. These were boats connected to a world that has since become radioactive. A world Prince Andrew moved through effortlessly. A world everyone now pretends they never saw. It's the principle that a lot of fraudsters use. Elizabeth Holmes, Jeffrey Epstein. Once you get one powerful person to vouch for you, the rest follow. Once those receipts made their way out, even the skeptics stopped laughing. Meghan's carefully polished image suddenly had an unfiltered past running parallel to it, and no amount of PR gloss can make people forget the image of a duchess moving through a social world that now looks much more complicated than Meghan ever wanted to admit. Holy crap. Holy crap. And this is why you don't throw stones at somebody else's glass house. You know, a story has gone sideways when people start saying, well, that actually makes sense now. That's exactly what happened the moment Prince Andrew's name entered the Meghan conversation. Not as a royal relative, but as someone whose path crossed hers long before Harry arrived. The fact that Meghan Markle returned her engagement ring to Trevor Engelson via the post is cold, but the fact that her ambition was so blatant, that's chilling. Meghan worked hard to build the image of a woman untouched by royal scandals. She crafted the narrative of entering the monarchy as an outsider, completely separate from the controversies that had once swallowed Buckingham Palace whole. And for a while, people believed her. Why wouldn't they? It was the perfect foundation for her fresh start branding. But the resurfacing claims told a different story. They didn't suggest a casual hello at a charity gala or a handshake at a premiere. The allegations positioned Meghan in the orbit of Andrew's private social world, one that was far more exclusive and far more questionable than her fans ever imagined. She wanted this famous royal, and specifically, she wanted Prince Harry, because as Angela Levin's reporting made very clear, she was looking for a celebrity. She was hunting. The types of celebrities she was going after were like Max George from The Wanted and Matt Cardle from The X Factor, Z-listers at best. But it's so fascinating that she had her sights set on Harry. I think she studied him. If you do study him carefully, you can see he's very vulnerable. What unsettled people most was how effortlessly their timelines matched. Andrew wasn't just part of the same social crowd, he was one of the central figures in it. And these were not public appearances, they were private gatherings, remote destinations, quiet invitations extended only to those who were either useful or familiar. Suddenly, Meghan's insistence that she barely knew Andrew seemed less like a fact and more like a strategic omission. The gossip circles began replaying old memories. Oh yes, she was around back then. Yes, their groups overlapped. We all went to so-and-so's party that summer. It's never the loud accusations that ruin reputations. It's the small confirmations, the tiny details that start aligning until the whole story feels unavoidable. Meghan didn't need to be Andrew's best friend for the connection to matter. All she had to do was exist in a space that, in hindsight, looks far too incriminating to dismiss. This wasn't the name Meghan ever expected to be tied to. Not in her Hollywood years. Certainly not after marrying Harry. And definitely not now when Andrew's name is the one royal association everyone wants to pretend never existed. But gossip has a long memory. And once Andrew's name slipped into her story, there was no pulling it back out. If rumors are smoke, then court filings are gasoline. One small reference can turn a whisper into a wildfire. And that's exactly what happened when Meghan's name surfaced. Not in tabloids, not in internet theories, but in legal documents connected to Andrew's tangled past. The filings didn't accuse Meghan of anything criminal. They didn't point fingers directly, but they did something far more damaging. They placed her in proximity. And when your entire public image relies on looking clean, polished, and morally above chaos, proximity is the last word you want next to your name. Lawyers choose their wording carefully. Every phrase is weighed, every adjective debated. These documents mention Meghan in a way that wasn't accidental. She wasn't described as a random figure passing through the background. She was mentioned in context, part of a social ecosystem that was later scrutinized under a microscope. That alone was enough to get people talking again, because legal filings don't gossip. They document. And let's talk about the phrase close companion. Two simple words, but in gossip circles and legal context, they hit like a detonator. There is a difference between acquaintance, associate, guest, and close companion. That last one suggests familiarity, time spent, personal interaction. It implies Meghan wasn't orbiting the edge of Andrew's social circle. She was closer to its center than anyone realized. When that phrase surfaced, everything shifted. Suddenly, the public wasn't looking at Meghan as a distant figure who once crossed paths with Andrew in a crowded room. They were picturing something much closer, much more personal. And that image alone reshaped the entire narrative. Even among Meghan's supporters, there was a noticeable pause because close companion isn't a throwaway label. It's intentional, and it opens the door to questions nobody had dared to ask before. People began revisiting every claim, every timeline, every whispered story from those yacht summers. Suddenly, the puzzle pieces didn't look random anymore. They looked arranged, coordinated, connected. The idea that Meghan's social rise was partly built through proximity to powerful men no longer felt like a stretch. It felt plausible. And think about the implications for poor, brainwashed Harry. When Harry first met Meghan, he believed he was rescuing someone from a hostile world. He thought he was marrying an outsider, someone untouched by royal entanglements. He imagined her story was hers alone, a tale of Hollywood struggle and humanitarian grace. He never anticipated a narrative that would connect her directly to his most notorious family member, Prince Andrew. He must be wondering, did he remember her? Sources close to Harry reveal that the resurfaced claims rattled him deeply. These aren't tabloid exaggerations. They involve documented timelines, statements, and accounts that place Meghan within Andrew's orbit in a way Harry likely never expected. This isn't just gossip. These are threads of historical record. For Harry, the shock isn't merely personal. It's structural. He left behind family, titles, and royal privileges to carve out a life with Meghan. He took hits from the media, endured scrutiny, and distanced himself from institutions he felt were toxic. All of that sacrifice now feels threatened. Because if the public starts scrutinizing Meghan's past, it doesn't just affect her, it reflects back on him. Suddenly, Harry's carefully curated narrative of love, loyalty, and principled defiance becomes entwined with doubts about what he knew and when. Insiders suggest Harry is experiencing more than surprise. There's a sense of betrayal, of having been shielded from details he believes should have been disclosed. The allegations don't just reopen old wounds, they illuminate cracks in trust he never imagined would exist in their marriage. For someone who left the palace to protect and support Meghan, realizing she may have had connections to Andrew in these circles is destabilizing. And look at the silence. Meghan hasn't said a word. Not a statement, not a clarification, not a single legal threat. In a world where public figures respond to even the faintest whiff of scandal with fiery press releases or legal warnings, this level of silence is remarkable. And in Meghan's case, it's also telling. Silence can be tactical. It can convey calm confidence, but it can also read as fear. As the old saying goes, silence is consent. For a public figure whose brand is built on control, messaging, and carefully curated narratives, this silence has spoken louder than any statement could. Social media erupted the moment people noticed her absence in addressing these allegations. Influencers dissected it, tabloids screamed about it, even neutral observers began raising questions. Why wouldn't Meghan strike back immediately if these claims were untrue? Why allow her narrative to be dictated by whispers, leaks, and court-adjacent filings instead of her own carefully managed public image? The silence wasn't just a PR misstep. It was an event in itself. People began reading into every Instagram post, every lifestyle rollout, wondering if it was an attempt to distract. The gaps in her narrative have become the most interesting part of the story. For Meghan, every passing day of silence is a gamble. The world is watching. Gossip thrives in the gaps. And right now, the gaps are loud enough to drown out the entire message she has spent years building. Harry is confronting a reality he thought impossible. that the very past he hoped to distance himself from now creeps into his personal life in a way that forces him to reevaluate everything. And in his world where loyalty and transparency are paramount, nothing stings more than discovering a secret that challenges your understanding of the person you trusted most. The phrase he reportedly repeated to confidants is chilling. If this is true, it's over. Not his love, not his marriage necessary right now, but the trust. The fragile, irreplaceable trust he assumed he had has been fractured. Harry has endured scandals, criticism, and relentless tabloid narratives, but nothing threatens him like the feeling that he was misled by the person he vowed to protect. Now that trust hangs by a thread, and Harry knows more than ever that some secrets are unforgivable, especially when they intersect with the darkest chapters of the family he once called home. And let's not forget the contrast. Look at William and Catherine. Look at King Charles and Queen Camilla. They operate with dignity. They don't have secret pasts lurking in the shadows of yachts. They have lives of service, of duty, of transparency. Meghan came in pretending to be one thing, and the layers are peeling back to reveal something very, very different. So, neighbors, what do you think? Are the receipts about to drop? Is Harry finally waking up to the reality of who he married? Or will they try to spin this into another victim narrative? Personally, I think the walls are closing in. You can't run from the truth forever, especially not when there are legal filings involved. I'm going to go check on my garden. At least the dirt there is honest. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Do you believe the Andrew connection? Is it the final straw for the Sussex brand? I read every single one of your comments. Stay safe, keep your eyes open, and God save the king. Cheerio, tata, and bye for now.